unions know that they have to create strike funds and provide for their workers in the cases of those strikes. And it's done it successfully. We just saw it with the writer's strike, right? They held out long enough to get concessions on almost everything that the union members wanted. The actors are about to do the same thing. The UAW is doing the same thing.
Yep.
I think this is one where, okay, if the trust fund is already $18 billion in debt, it's starting to make more sense to not add additional billions.
Dianne Feinstein has died. At 90 years old, she has passed away. Crazy. But now this opens the door for, what's his name?
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom. I almost called him Kevin Newsom. Dude, you know I'm sick when I'm forgetting Gavin Newsom's name.
Yeah.
Insane.
Throws in the token cough to make sure you know he's sick. Ooh. Do you have water in there?
I do. Oh my God. Dude.
So, Gavin Newsom nominated Laphonza Butler to take Feinstein's seat. He had already promised to nominate a black woman and to nominate someone who would not be interested in seeking re-election, which I think is really interesting and kind of a big, like a good guy move.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't want to give an advantage to anyone who's already announced that they're running for the seat in 2024.
Right. Yeah. Then he went back on that and then said he wouldn't be mad if Laphonza Butler runs for re-election.
Oh, I mean, I think that's different though.
Oh,
right,
okay.
because there are people who've already thrown their hat into the ring for that seat. Adam Schiff being one of them. I think it's different to be like she can run for it now, but it's not like someone who already was in the ring. I mean, I think it would have been weird for him to come out and say, "Oh, she better not run for re-election."
That's
like
true.
Even though I just put her in the seat. No, absolutely not.
That's fair. That's fair. I didn't think about it like that.
So yeah, Laphonza Butler. I know very little about her, honestly. She's the president of Emily's List.
That is a big fundraising apparatus for the Democratic Party and for abortion rights.
Yeah.
She's been a big fundraising juggernaut, and she has also in the past been a labor leader. She was the president of California's branch of the SEIU. And was really leading the charge for the $15 minimum wage. Now, yes, in her past, she has been pro-union, and she has been the president of a union. So all of that initially makes me think, oh, wow, Gavin Newsom, good job putting a labor leader at the forefront of national politics right when labor is having a moment, right? Well, since she has not been president of SEIU, she's done some things that are very, 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 very anti-labor. She has been a consultant for Uber, and at this time, Uber was working with other gig companies like Airbnb to squash a California Democrat-led bill that would make gig workers classified as employees, giving them the full employee benefits that is currently not offered to independent contractors. So she was on the forefront pushing against that.
Okay.
It's hard for me because SEIU has come out and they've said, thank you so much for nominating Laphonza Butler. And I want to, trust that the unions know what they're doing. But then I see headlines like that as she's working with Uber to quash pro-worker legislation. And I'm like, I can't get a read on her.
Yeah, I do wonder if is she a consultant running her own business, choosing the clients and the projects that she gets? Or is she an employee? Is she working for some kind of larger consulting company, right? Because in that way, I don't really have a problem with her working for Uber or an Airbnb because it just means she was doing her job and apparently doing it well. And I'm okay with a show of competence.
Okay.
Right? And it means that if she's in the Senate expressing her own views and being a leader for these movements, which SEIU's support of her might be representative of, then I'm happy with it.
I think I like your mindset. I do think that when someone is in such a massive position of power, I would like them to live their values a little bit more and go for a job that doesn't put them in that position. But I don't know enough about her background to say that she is truly in that position to say, oh, screw it, I'm going to, go be work for a nonprofit making $30,000 a year. I don't know enough about her life to make that call.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But no, I do think you're right. Competence is key. So if her heart truly is in the labor movement, which I think it is, president of SEIU, how do you get to be the president of SEIU without being pro-labor, right? So I don't know. It's just hard. But Gavin Newsom, I want to talk about Gavin Newsom's relationship to labor, because unless you found anything else about Laphonza Butler, interject.
Go ahead.
So Gavin Newsom has a weird relationship with labor at the moment. He vetoed a bill last Saturday that would have granted workers on strike unemployment benefits. This was passed by the Democrat House of California and the Democrat Senate of California. And then Gavin Newsom vetoed it. That's a hard thing to That's hard.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom's breaking with the whole of the Democratic Party, and he's choosing to not expand unemployment benefits to striking workers. This legislation was pushed by labor unions, the SEIU included, right? The California Labor Federation and the Democrats. So now this is a quote from the California Labor Federation. This veto tips the scales further in favor of corporations and CEOs and punishes workers who exercise their fundamental right to strike. At a time when the public support of unions and strikes are at an all-time high, this veto is out of step with American values. I think she's right on the money. I definitely think Gavin's position here is out of step with where America currently is. Unions have a high approval rating. They approve of the United Auto Workers strike. So this is definitely out of step. But I want to give Gavin a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and kind of talk about why he did this. Because it's not because he's anti-striking worker, because that's not true, but I want to give his reasoning. So first of all, the legislation would have allowed striking workers 2 weeks, striking workers for at least 2 weeks to receive unemployment benefits, such as checks of $450 a week. So why would he veto this? This is why. California's unemployment benefits are supported by the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund, which as of late, not even as of late, for a long time has been running a deficit, hasn't been taking in enough money. The state actually had to borrow money from the federal government after the trust had run out of money previously. Currently, the state's Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund is already $18 billion in debt, and if you pass this legislation, it would have increased it $2 billion more in debt. That's his reasoning.
I'm with Newsom.
I knew you would be, and I don't know. I don't think I'm that anti-Newsom on this. I don't think I'm that against it.
Well, here's where I'm at. Unions already know that they have to have strike funds, that they have to be able to support their workers.
Yeah.
Right? This is one of those things where it's like, it doesn't make sense to be infinitely liberal. It doesn't make sense to say the government has infinite money and it can do absolutely everything we want all the time.
Especially on a state level when the state does not control its own currency, right?
Exactly. Unions know that they have to create strike funds and provide for their workers in the cases of those strikes. And it's done it successfully. We just saw it with the writer's strike, right? They held out long enough to get concessions on almost everything that the union members wanted. The actors are about to do the same thing. The UAW is doing the same thing.
Yep.
I think this is one where, okay, if the trust fund is already $18 billion in debt, it's starting to make more sense to not add additional billions to that number.
Yeah, and I don't think that I also don't think it's like a well-written piece of legislation. If you want to have, okay, the union had issues raising a strike fund and can appeal on behalf of their workers for unemployment benefits, that's a different story, and that's something I could be on board with. But flat out saying that unemployed workers who are getting equal amount of wages from their strike fund will also get unemployment benefits, no, that's a bad policy,
Makes no
guys.
sense.
That's just a bad policy.
Yeah.
That's a bad move.
Exactly.
That's dumb. You know, that's like, that almost makes me feel like a lot of the Democrats who passed this were kind of virtue signaling pro-labor when it's like, no, hold on, guys. That's actually a dumb move.
Yes.
What are we going to do here? We're going to like 1.5 times the wages of workers who go on strike. Totally. I don't know if that's a good idea.
No. We were talking, I think maybe off camera, about how virtue signaling is bad. And in California, the virtue signaling is always going to be on the left. And this is where you actually get yourself into trouble, right? And you get into fiscal policy where you're over borrowing and the state becomes over leveraged, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Now, again, opposite side. So one of the state senators, Senator Anthony Portantino, Jesus, dude, that's gonna be a clip.
That has to be. Record skip.
Yeah. He had a good argument for it. He said of the 56 strikes in California over the past decade, only 2 had even lasted longer than 2 weeks.
I think that's an argument for Newsom's side.
Because it's not even that relevant?
Yeah. Well, like, okay, if they're not lasting that long, then it should be that much easier for the union funds to cover them.
Makes sense to me, man.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, but we're on Newsom on this one.
Yeah. Again, the government doesn't have infinite money.
Yeah.
Okay. We are mostly liberal. We like liberal policies, but sanity must rule.
Yeah, sanity must prevail, and that's just not a good look.
No.
That's not a good look.
No.